contract,
Oh,
1,000 contracts,
oh,
one at a time,
yep.
looking them up in the database to verify the data because we found mistakes on a bunch.
And was it from porting over or was it just from initial entry?
It's been,
Or both?
was some of it was, yeah, a combination. Some of it was how the data landed in the new database,
Mm-hmm.
which was, that should have been addressed a little over 2 years ago. That the questions that are coming up now of why did that data land here instead of somewhere else, those questions should have been addressed over 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Who's honking? Somebody's honking. The light was green, so it wasn't me. Oh, big old dump truck honking at somebody else.
Ah.
Okay. Anyway, um, the staff that do the most data management in this database, also, there's been a whole lot of turnover, and the one person who had the most knowledge turned bitter and decided to help no one for the whole last year of the
Oh.
data transfer, of transitioning to a new database. The person who had the most knowledge got bitter and decided, I'm not helping anyone anymore. I'm just looking out for myself. And then after another year, she left.
Dang.
And I mean, I explain all this because anyone who's listening doesn't know all the details, but you do.
Yep.
That yeah, that departure was 9 months ago, eight
Uh-huh.
months, 8 or 9
Yeah, I
months
think I
ago.
remember that. I mean, I've slept since then,
Yeah,
but yeah.
right, right. And so we've had a fiscal year end since then,
Mm-hmm.
which means an annual audit and running a whole bunch of reports. And guess what? The reports are not pulling good data because the data has been fucked. Do we have to bleep? Do we?
Yeah, I think we're clearly marking this podcast as not for children.
Okay, okay,
So if you're
yeah.
under 18 and you
Um,
stumbled across this, click off. It's not going to interest you anyway. It's just a bunch of like your mom's friends like bitching about their lives.
so yeah, so I get this promotion, 4 months ago, and these new responsibilities are on me, and I'm like, you want me to run this report? Okay, this report doesn't balance. Well, why doesn't it balance? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me. You've done this. You did this 30 years before me. You tell me why the report doesn't balance.
Right?
And the gal who used to run it for you,
Mm-hmm.
it's clear now she was massaging the data to make the report balance. Fake.
Mm-hmm.
She was faking the report. So I'm like, the database is a mess. And my boss is like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we finally today reached a very close point of cleanup. Not clean. Well, I shouldn't say cleanup because we're not cleaning it up. We are identifying problems. We're not actually doing the cleanup because the people who made the mess are going to have to clean up their own mess.
Mm-hmm.
We're identifying the problems. So we've identified a lot that brings the numbers on the report out of the database a whole lot closer to what the numbers expected to be. Very, very close. And then all of a sudden, we get an email that somebody received a 1099 from us because the month right now is January. We're at the
Mm-hmm.
very end of January, and 1099s have to be postmarked by January 31st. Today is the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
we receive an email that there was a typo in their tax ID number on the form.
Oh, seriously?
We're like, what?
That's like a mistake
Oh
I would
dear.
make.
How does this happen? So we go back to the 1099. Okay, we see the number. Then we go to the financial database that we exported all of this from. Sure enough, the last digit is off. So we go to the spreadsheet. So we take the data out of the accounting database. We export into an Excel spreadsheet, and it dumps it all in, certain rows and columns, and it formats it in certain ways. Well, the 1099 software needs it in different orders and stuff. So there's a little bit of just copy paste into a new tab in the spreadsheet so that we can upload it into the 1099 software. Nothing but copy paste is happening here. Within the same Excel file, 77 of the tax ID numbers incremented up by a count of 2. Is that sinking in?
Sort of. I mean, uh, a little
Yeah.
bit. I still have Benadryl brain.
Okay, so if your tax ID number ends with a 6,
Mm-hmm.
we copied it from the spreadsheet that has the 6 and hit paste on the other spreadsheet that it's going to upload into the tax software, and somehow that 6 changed to an 8.
So the person entered their ID correctly, but the software read it weird?
It's a copy paste in Excel. Copy paste from one spot in Excel to a different spot in
And
Excel.
it automatically changed. It wasn't like user error changing the 6 to an 8.
We can't figure out what the hell happened, because this happened to the bottom 70 plus on a list of like 200 listings.
So, do you ever notice that sometimes in Kindle, like words, certain letters in a word will be altered?
Yeah.
I think they're trying to, they've been working on fixing that from the get-go, but I think a lot of it came from like, a lot of copyright, public domain stuff being scanned and uploaded and then being, transmuted. So I'm wondering if maybe it was something like that, like just a reading of different versions, like maybe they didn't catch an Excel version update or something.
It's very possible something like a font.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, how there's a version like 1.1.1.1.1, like you've got to back engineer the solution to always keep up with all those back version possibilities too.
Yeah, I have no idea why it would only do this to a chunk instead of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense, because it's like the whole column, copy, paste. Why did the bottom chunk of the column get altered?
Yeah.
Bizarro stuff.
Yeah.
So the afternoon has been spent in crisis mode. Dropped the database mess. And it's like, okay, we got to send an email to all of these people letting them know, hey, this 1099 you received had a typo on it. We're so very sorry. And guess what I did? Guess who wrote the email?
Copilot? Chatty?
Yes.
Yeah.
I use Chewy. That's what we call Microsoft Copilot.
Okay, Chewy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, ooh, that was me and my colleague.
Hey,
Ooh, it sounded just
I
like Chewy.
appreciate that. I'm all for it.
Oh, this has been my day. It's just like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh yeah.
This erupts. This erupts right at lunchtime.
Oh,
And it's like, okay, you know what? We're just going to pause. We're going to get some food
yep.
and let our brains just process what we need to do for a few minutes here. And we will we will revisit this after we feed our brains
Yeah.
and
I
just
mean, like,
take some breaths. Yeah.
exactly. Like, there's nothing to be gained by, putting off lunch and panicking, except like, the old, what we used to do, like, demonstrate how dedicated we are by starving ourselves and like looking down on anybody who actually went and had lunch.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so done with that shit. Like, nobody's
Yeah.
impressed by it anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Ah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah. And there were like a handful of like maybe 6 of these people on the list that I couldn't find an email address for, so I had to reach out to colleagues, um, hoping that they have an email address for these people so we can reach out and say, hey, sorry.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's shitty grant database-o-matic.
Yeah, we gotta post a link
Yeah, to the
what that
shitty
joke is.
rotiamatic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see
Um,
the variation where like everybody was trying to use that automatic dumpling maker?
no.
Oh my God. So in addition to the shitty rotiamatic, there is the auto dumpling maker. So, you have your wrapper and you have your filling.
Okay,
And
okay.
this machine is supposed to, you put the wrapper down and it has like two parts that sort of rotate, and in the rotation process, fold, crimp, and dump.
Wow.
Right? Like it's an
Okay.
amazing idea if it actually worked.
Yeah,
But
right, right.
literally, there was a whole like thing on YouTube and TikTok and all the real, like on all short form videos where everybody was trying to make it work. And eventually
Yeah.
it became, remember that scene from Office Space where they destroy the printer?
Yes,
It
yes, yes.
became a competition of who could become more creative in destroying the shitty auto dumpling maker.
I love this.
I'll send you a link to it and post a link as well in there because, oh my God, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
very, very funny.
Yeah, I mean, it really is because it, everybody's like, this would be amazing, right? And of course,
Right.
there are
Yeah,
factories
yeah.
where this works, you know,
Right. Yeah,
but those factories uh, clearly have more money to invest in machinery than like the $10
yeah,
Timu, you know.
yeah. And
Yeah,
the engineering of everything. Yeah.
exactly. But whoever
Yep.
does figure out the cheap dumpling maker will make a shit ton of money.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, also, if I'm not mistaken, today, speaking of dumplings, is a Chinese New Year.
Yes. Lunar New Year, because it's
Isn't
more than
it?
just the Chinese. It's the Japanese, Koreans, blah, blah,
Right.
everybody.
Yes,
Anybody
yes.
who like has a culture older than Europe is celebrating Lunar New Year.
Yes. And it's today.
Yep.
Yeah.
I washed my hair last night. I'm not washing it today. I am not washing away my good luck.
Is that what? Is there something to that?
No, I mean,
I don't.
honestly, this is all bullshit, clearly. But
Right.
why not?
But is that one of the theories? That's
Yes.
one of the traditions?
hmm
Okay.
And if you think
I'm not
back
familiar with
to
this.
why that might be, it actually makes sense. So
Okay.
in your they didn't have hair dryers.
Yore. Yeah.
Yes. So they didn't have hair dryers. So washing your hair left you cold. And,
Right.
when your body temperature lowers, I believe it affects your immune system, which allows you to get sick. And getting sick in the old days was kind of a 50-50 thing.
Right. I
So
have read that that is an old wives' tale, that
I
wet
have
hair makes you susceptible to being sick. I've heard that that's not true,
I
but
I have too, and
yeah.
I'm sure the science behind like the study that proved that to be true is sound because it's probably peer reviewed, double blind, all that stuff. But they didn't have that. They had their old wives' tales,
Right.
and they went by correlation causation. observe It went by
Right.
observation, correlation, causation.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's fine, and it did make sense. And also consider that too, heating up bath water was
Mm-hmm.
expensive. So everybody
Sure.
would use, in some cultures, not every culture, everybody would use the same bath water.
Oh yes.
That was mostly European. Most Asian cultures were kind of like that. That's gross. We're all using our own water. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Or if it was a communal bath, you were expected to scrub before getting into the bath.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Even to this day, like if you go to the communal bathhouses and saunas and hot springs and stuff in any Asian country, you are expected to
Yeah.
shower and like not just shower, but scrub so that
Wow.
you are clean upon entering,
Okay. I mean, this makes sense.
right?
We have, any public swimming pool here,
Yep.
they all have signs that say shower before entering.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does.
Right. But also, when I was in
Nobody.
Italy, not only did we have to shower before entering, but if you were going to put your head underwater, you had to wear a swimming cap.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
And I mean, look, public pool, little kids, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. But yeah, so actually, so I haven't watched the new Shogun, but I remember watching the old Shogun back in the 80s with Richard Chamberlain. And
Okay.
one of the scenes was in the beginning of the miniseries, they took all these like European sailors and they forced them to take baths and they thought they were dying. And then a couple
Oh, my
episodes
word.
later, Richard Chamberlain's character runs into, some other European sailors who've been stranded, and he orders them to be bathed, and he comes out like shaking his, yukata and kimono or whatever he's wearing, and he's like, God, disgusting. Because once you start bathing, also Arabic, Arab countries and cultures always were very big. Indian culture, pretty much everybody except the Western Europeans were like really super big on cleanliness.
Wow.
Yeah. Europe was like we bathe once a month.
Yeah.
And, however, I can see that, you know, washing your hair if you believe that, it could expose you to cold, etc., especially because, it's wintertime in most of these countries.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that, you know, prevalence of illness was greater, and so it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, you know,
Yep.
it's kind of like how I figured out there's the old wives' tale in Slavic cultures of don't put a hat on a bed because it signifies death.
Okay.
But if you think,
That's a new one.
yep, but if you think about it, in the old days, because of lack of bathing and hygiene, you could have lice, you could have fleas, you could have
Oh, wow.
and and when you sleep, even though they wore these voluminous nightgowns, they still had more skin exposed.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, you know?
Wow. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am parked now.
Beep, 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 beep,
I am
beep,
at
beep.
my destination. Yeah. No beeping today because I'm in a carpool lane picking up a kid.
Ah, well,
So, yeah.
well, there we are.
Yep.
And this has been our conversation today. Yay! Thanks for writing along. I think that's our new sign off. We're figuring this out
Yeah.
as we go. Thanks for writing along.
Yeah. Thanks for the ride.
Write in the chat.
We'll figure something out. Like leave a tip for your driver. I don't know. There's some witty remark there. I just got to figure out what it is.
Oh, it's going to be something about good karma.
Oh, but
Yeah, it's yeah. We'll figure something out.
yeah.
We're winging it. All right, guys. Later.